This episode of Picture Lock is all about local filmmakers in the DMV area. I'll chat with very talented directors and producers about their latest film and hopefully get an in-depth look at the process of filmmaking from their point of view. I met my first guest, Chaka Balamani, in 2011 when he was cast in my short film 215. It was about that time that he was starting his own production company, Harborview Filmworks. Since then, I've seen his career morph and grow from actor to director to writer to producer. The titles keep going. He's acted in over 30 films since 2000, with the list of director growing as well. Chaka, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So, before we get started on Second Thought, I always like to start at the beginning. So, how did you get into film?
Well, I first started acting in film. I was on a short film by Paula Matabani, who was working up at Howard University. And that was my introduction into the film world. This was back in 2000. And from there, I had a love for film. I knew that that was something that I wanted to do as far as my career was concerned. I was going to school for TV production and broadcasting. I did an internship at MTV and eventually made my way back to film. But that was my introduction, was back in 2000.
Okay, and you said that was at Howard?
Well, the producer of the film used to be an instructor at Howard University at that time.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So did you grow up and it was like you wanted to be an actor or a filmmaker, or is this you just kind of fall into it, or what?
Well, I'm a third generation actor. My grandmother, who is 96 years old,
Wow.
she just recently stopped acting on stage. She's a theater actress. So she's from the Bronx, New York, and she had been acting since the 40s. So I grew up in a household that was came from film and acting. My mom is actually married to Frank Severa Jr., who's the son of Frank Severa, a famous actor. So this was something that, I grew up around as far as I've seen my whole life.
Right. So were you like, in the audience throwing roses on stage to grandma?
I think it was one of those things that was like the culture in my household,
Right.
As far as like being artistic and being an expressionist per se. It was just something that I never even really thought about. It was just natural. So when we would go to my grandma's house in New York, it was something that all of the grandkids did, performances. You didn't have a choice during Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was one of those things that I fell in love with. And then I think the first time that they gave me a camera, I knew that, directing was going to be something that I wanted to do as far as writing and directing and getting into film in that aspect.
Right. Now, I definitely want to get into the material, but you're obviously a family man now, so is that something that you're also setting your children up for as well?
Yeah, it's funny, as I upgrade on equipment and as technology begins to advance, I always pass it on to my kids. So even my 4-year-old and my 11-year-old can work a DSLR.
Oh, wow.
Like they're into that life, and they're growing up on sets and their PAs and things like that. My 11-year-old is a fantastic production assistant. We actually just did a 15-week studio back film this summer, and my daughter at 11 years old interned the entire summer and did production assistant work. So yeah, it's something that my family is growing up in as well.
Wow, man, That's cool. Okay, so obviously you've been in over 30 films since as you said, 2000. Under the Bourbon Moon is a film that you were recently in. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me what that was about.
Oh, that was a fantastic film. It's cut from the cloth of kind of like the Brat Pack. It's one of those films where a group of friends that comes together every year that met in college, and they kind of reunite each year to catch up on how things are going in life. And this year's a little bit different because a lot of things unfold and some issues are exposed. So it's a story more about relationships between the friends and people moving on in life. It's at that stage, and we've all been there, where we're kind of finishing off school in your late 20s, and you're trying to find this direction. Where do you want to go? This is when you leave the roommates, and
Right.
you start to go out and venture on your own, and you're thinking about, do I want to marry her? Do I want to start a family with her? What do I really want in life? Is this the job that I want? So it's really about a group of friends dealing with themselves and what happens this weekend at this lake house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who is your character in the film?
So my character, wow, it's a very interesting thing because I normally play the bad guy in a lot of the films that I'm in. I don't know why. It's not a typecast thing. I'm either a lawyer or a thug. I don't know why. But,
Right.
you know, and my character, he is a last year PhD student who's really fallen in love with this girl, Jen. And he's at this crossroad where it's like, I just don't want to mess this up. And so for him, he knows that he has, you know, the love of his life. He's got this career that he's on the brink of. And like I said, his biggest obstacle is just not to mess it up. So his name is Joey, and Joey is basically the sunshine in this film. One of the things about this film is that you'll see that there are a lot of dark secrets and things that are coming out about people's own emotional turmoil. And my couple, as far as myself and my girlfriend in the film, we seem to serve as the light in that picture. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, you know, I love how as you talk and describe, you really come from that actor's point of view. Like, I can tell, like, you studied the character. You're like, this is the subtext. This is where I need to go.
Yeah.
So, you know, within, you know, all the films that you've acted in, and especially with the most recent with Under the Bourbon Moon, like, what were some of the experiences and things that you learned that helped you for On Second Thought?
You know, as a writer and director, I think that one of the things that I pull from as an actor is just really understanding the character as far as the development of this character and letting life happen. A lot of times, you know, when I'm auditioning actors, I put them in different situations that may not have anything to do with the particular script or the side that we give them to read in the audition, because I want them to be committed to what do they really feel this person is, or who this person is. If I take the average person and I give them a script or a side and I say, hey, okay, you know, you see this one story about a guy who has robbed somebody at an ATM, okay, and you're coming in and you're auditioning for the guy that's going to rob this guy at the ATM. Mm-hmm. But what would he do if a lady needs a seat on the bus? How is his character going to be? Okay,
Right.
Like, you know, when you throw him in a different situation, you know, I think that those are the kind of things that I pull from as an actor and being committed. That's what I really dove into from the aspect of being a director on Second Thought, was pulling the character development and being true and honest and letting life happen for the character is one of the things I focused on.
Right.
Yeah.
Let life happen.
Yeah.
That's I might have to steal that. That's dope. Just let it breathe. Let life happen.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, On Second Thought, let's talk a little bit about that. Give us a summary of what the film is about. And I know that the film came together under unique circumstances. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, On Second Thought is, it's actually taken from a true story. So it's a film about a young man who gets two young ladies pregnant, and one of them ends up having a baby. So he has an 8-month-old child and he has another girl pregnant at the same time. He is actually a LeBron James type of character. This story was pulled from the Boston headlines. He convinces one of his child's moms to murder the other one. And then she ends up going to jail, okay? He ends up getting away. And so now you have these two motherless and, well, parentless children. So this film was basically brought to us by a legislative group in Congress. The Black Women for Positive Change had approached us about producing this film to address, you know, the culture of violence in America. So we wanted to basically put together this film where we could show the true events and then also give it an a different ending.
Okay.
So we gave it an alternative ending where the father comes in and he steps in and talks to the daughter before she makes this drastic decision to kill the other person. So that's what On Second Thought is about. And it has gotten over 20 proclamations from mayors and government officials in cities declaring the day that it debuted, which was August 22nd, as a National Day of Nonviolence. So it's been one of these films that has now become history. And it's gotten a lot of positive feedback. We've gotten contacted by the Department of Corrections. They want us to do an entire series of On Second Thought films with different scenarios. We've already gone into talks and negotiations with the legislative group about doing one to address high school dropouts. So that's probably going to be the next one that we're going to tackle. But yeah, it was a fantastic experience. It was shot in 18 hours. We shot it over a 2-day period.
Wow.
And I basically pulled together a whole crew of directors that I had worked with in the past. It just an experienced team to come in and say, hey guys, we're going to work under day rate. Let's go in, let's knock this out. And
Right.
I just put together a team of professionals, and we had some fantastic actors, and it's really gotten some fantastic feedback. So now we're in our festival run with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, it looks amazing.
Thank you.
Lighting, everything. I mean, I was very impressed.
Thanks.
Technically, what did you shoot on? How, lighting, things like that.
With the limited budget, we ended up shooting DSLRs, 5Ds, Nikons, and mostly, the Aries lighting systems, and a lot of filter work. I use, my DP is Stuart Hoyt, and he's a fantastic kid. He came out of the Art Institute of Washington, and I've worked with him for about 3 years now. So he does fantastic lighting. He's just really one of those young, talented kids that can do it all. So we ended up shooting on the DSLRs and, kind of added some grain to give it a little bit of the film look, and worked a lot with filters, and just really wanted to play a lot on the moods because it was a under 20-minute film, but it was such an intense topic.
Right.
We did a lot of mood settings with the lights.
So, and you wrote the film, right?
Well, we co-wrote it.
Okay.
Basically what ended up happening is, initially when we got it, the executive producers had approached us with the treatment saying, hey, here's the idea that we want to do, this is the storyline. And then there was a challenge because they're in their mid-50s to late 60s, so they had put together somewhat of a treatment in a script, and they approached us and said, hey, we want to produce this, and we were saying, okay, well, we can turn it into a screenplay format. So what we did is we took what they gave us. They had someone in LA come through and kind of change the dialogue a little bit to make it more current, and then we put it into screenplay format. And what we did as producers is we came in and we said, all right, well, we're going to open this up. We're going to add a CSI scene. Let's impact it. Let's open up the scene. And we put in a crime scene. We added a coach. We added a mom. We added a sister. Put it in so that it actually all came together. So that was our role as far as writing, putting it more into an actual film screenplay format for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any place that we could check it out now, or is it, like you said, on this festival run?
Right. So it is on its festival run. It's going to be in the Southwest Art Fest, which is September 28th. You can see it there. It'll also be in the Real Independent Film Festival, which will be at West End Cinema. That runs from October 11th through the 17th. So it's actually going to be screening on October 17th at 7 p.m. at West End Cinema.
Okay.
You can take a look on YouTube. The On Second Thought behind the scenes is up, so you can get an inside look at the making of the film. And that was actually produced and directed by Harold Jackson. He did the behind the scenes coverage and put that together for us. So,
nice.
Yeah, as we going through festival run, you can check it out at harborviewfilmworks.com. You can get more information on different screenings nationally.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And just tell us a little bit about your company before we sign off.
Sure. So Harborview Filmworks, my wife and I are co-owners of that, and we have been working together since 2011 as far as the film industry is concerned. We actually first got our start. I interned at MTV, she interned at BET, and then we went into TV pilot production.
Okay.
We started doing some pilot work for local writers and producers, and then we moved into film. So right now what we're currently working on is we have a trilogy called Passion at 52. The director's reel, if you look it up, Passion at 52, my director's reel for the first part of the trilogy is up. And we will be finished. We are down to our last 5 scenes. So we wrote, co-produced, star in that film. And we've been shooting since last year. So it's been about a year in production. So we're down to our final 5 scenes. We'll be wrapping up in December. And our next project is going to be, we're looking at doing a kids film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Camp Day Moon. So you can be on the lookout for that. Yeah.
Is this going to be a feature?
Yeah, we're going to do a full-length feature,
Okay.
and that'll be our last one that we're going to do on the East Coast before we move over. Our plans is to move over to the West Coast in
Oh, wow.
2014. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Man, it's like that, man.
yeah,
All right,
yeah,
save me a spot on the couch or something.
yeah, definitely.
So really quickly, it sounds just kind of like, right now you're in the indie filmmaking scene where you kind of do it as you go. I'm sure you probably got like a 9 to 5. Is that the case?
Yeah, I have a 9 to 5, and it's funny because when you're working in independent film, it's like I have a 9 to 5, and then I have a 5 until 7:30 in the morning. Late nights and early mornings is really how it works.
Wow.
I basically use my job as my executive producer.
Yeah.
I go to work and I'm funding the majority of my projects that I'm doing. As far as my wife and I at Harborview Filmworks, we use our jobs to fund our projects and our ideas. And I think that one of the important things is that when you're looking at budgets in the independent world, that you're willing to, take the knee as far as not rush it. I don't want to compromise and sacrifice my actual artistic value for my film, just to get a film out. So I would rather take 2 years to shoot the film the way I want. If it takes me $10,000 to get the National Building Museum, then I'm going to get $10,000 to shoot it.
Right.
I won't compromise and shoot it in someone's basement and call it a boardroom.
Right.
So yeah, those are the kind of things that I look at as far as an independent. The struggles that you have to go through is just patience. One of those things that we learn. But my wife and I have been blessed to have some supportive producers on board, and it's been a fantastic journey. And like I said, we just recently did a full-length feature, which is 6 Hearts, 1 Beat. That'll be debuting in November, and that's under Sanjata Films. So that was the first studio-backed project, and that was 15 weeks over the summer. So that was definitely a fantastic experience, and was co-directed by Frankie Jackson Jr.
Nice. Well, Chaka, man, I mean, that's an inspirational story. I mean, that's how we got to do if we really want to get our art out there.
Yeah.
So thanks again for coming on the show,
Oh,
man. I definitely
Thank you for having
appreciate it.
me. Yes, sir.
All right. We'll take a short break and be back with the directors of Justice League Dark, The Gathering. Stay tuned.